All right, we got Juche Gang News, Volume 10, Monday, June 8th. We got Ukraine conducts a large scale attack on St. Petersburg, is reported in anti war. The St. Petersburg government ordered residents to shelter in place on Saturday amid a Ukrainian drone attack. The city's mayor reported that 3 people sustained minor injuries. Alexandra Drozdenko, the governor of the Leningrad region, reported that a total of 86 Ukrainian drones were downed. The attack occurred at the conclusion of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Ukraine also attacked the city on Wednesday, just before the opening of the event. During the forum, Russian President aide Yuri Yushakov argued that Washington's policy under President Donald Trump is largely unchanged from that under President Joe Biden. Quote, Biden's policy continues, but with certain nuances, I would say, he explained. Ukraine conducted attacks across Russia, with the defense ministry downing over 376 drones. The mayor of Moscow said that 5 drones were down near the capital city. So just notice how Ukraine, like, again, like, they're not even attacking like positions. Like, if they were trying to actually defend their position, you know, they're doing long range strikes into Russia with drones that don't actually even have any effect on the front line. Right? And of course the most insidious part is that these strikes are only possible because the US is giving them intelligence to do that. It's giving them the information, it's giving them the targeting data to make these strikes, right? More than 130 countries participated in the forum. It's certainly a choice to attack the city at that time. Twice at that time. And including towards Moscow, too. Like I say, it's like, it's not even like it's not even it's not even attacking troop positions in the area, like what, you know, like what Hezbollah does to to the force that's invading it. Because, like I say, Ukraine is used as a proxy, like an aircraft carrier proxy in the fucking region to attack Russia with. That's what it's for.
I've got some literature in my car that will change your whole
Yo, Sentient Natalie, thank you for the resubby. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's it. It's just used as like a unsinkable aircraft carrier that can now attack Russia. That was the whole purpose of wanting to offer NATO and bringing NATO up to all its borders. Like, what they're doing is surrounding Russia with fucking nuclear bombs. I have no idea where they launch from. It's a good question, Comrade Ski. I guess Ukraine. And then other countries, I don't know. I guess it seems like a long way to go, doesn't it? Me advocates for a system of peace and fairness, gets called tanky anyway. Average lib supports war for the owning class, gets called progressive. Yeah, Malme, exactly. I mean, that's literally us pointing out that position, though, will have them call you that when we understand that the whole reason for this war is NATO aggression. Is the continued wanting to surround Russia with aggressive forces. Ever since the overthrow of USSR, that even wasn't enough, you know? I mean that, and Natalie, that's what they want to do with all the countries that surround Russia, is essentially turn them into like Israel's. That can be, and they can just use their population as cannon fodder in their proxy fight against Russia. That's literally what NATO wants. That's the strategy. All right, next I've got pro-Palestinian hackers vow most devastating cyber attacks. A pro-Palestinian hacking group has threatened large-scale cyber attacks against the critical and military infrastructure of the enemies of the Palestinian cause and the countries allying themselves with them. In a statement on Monday, Handela complaining, thank you so much for the resubby. In a statement on Monday, Handela threatened, quote, the most devastating cyber attacks against the enemy's critical and military infrastructure. It also warned every country that has rolled out the red carpet for the terrorists. Your turn will come as well. No land is too far away. No server will be safe, and no network is beyond our reach. Wait and watch, the group stated. The group has behind a slew of cyber attacks targeting former and current high-profile Israeli and American officials, lesser-known figures behind pro-Israeli projects, and the infrastructure of countries closely allying themselves with Tel Aviv and Washington, and abetting their efforts at suppressing the Palestinian cause. Press TV. Remember, you can click on any of these links, comrades, and it will take you to the original article as well. Alright, you knew this one was coming, I'm sure. Iran pounds occupied territories. Iranian forces launched a missile barrage at Israeli occupied territories on Sunday, responding to persistent Israeli attacks on Lebanon in breach of the ceasefire. Sirens blared in wide areas, including in the occupied Golan Heights, Tiberias, Safed, Nazareth, Haifa, and several other cities, according to Israeli media. The Israeli military said air defense systems remain on high alert, while the regime's education ministry announced the closure of all schools and education centers for the coming day due to security concerns. The Iranian operation came as a direct response to the Zionist regime's continued aggression against Lebanon, including the use of banned phosphorus bombs and the targeting of Beirut's southern suburbs, Dahiya. Immediately after the retaliatory operation, Qatem al-Anbiya headquarters, the central command of the Iranian armed forces, warned of more crushing and remorseful blows should Israeli attacks on Lebanon continue. We had previously warned that if crimes expand in Beirut's Dahiya, we will strike targets within the occupied territories, the statement noted. The top military command further issued an ultimatum, demanding that the Zionist army immediately halt all attacks on southern Lebanon and Dahiya. If it expands its attacks into that area or responds to Iran's action, it will face even more crushing and remorseful blows, and devastating attacks against the regime and its supporters will commence, the statement added. And here's, this is from Israeli media, this footage. See that again?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Oh no, your fish didn't go. Sometimes it fucks up. Missiles launched from Iran are seen in the sky over occupied Palestine.
من دون سابق انذار ولا صفارات انذار في منطقة سخنين.
And then, in relation to this as well, Yemen declares a complete ban on Israeli navigation. Yemen's armed forces announced a complete and total ban on Israeli maritime navigation in the Red Sea, declaring all enemy movements legitimate military targets, after claiming a precision strike on sensitive Israeli sites in Tel Aviv. The announcement on Monday came as part of a broader confrontation against what Yemen described as the American and Zionist aggression against the axis of resistance in Iran, Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. Spokesman Brigadier General Yahi Sari said that the missile barrage targeted the occupied Jaffa region, Tel Aviv, and achieved its objectives with precision. The operation, he said, was carried out in rejection of the Zionist project seeking to establish what is called Greater Israel, under the name of the New Middle East. It also aimed to break what Sari described as the unjust and oppressive siege imposed by the American enemy on the people of Yemen and the free nations of the axis of Lebanon, Gaza, and Iran. Another common W for Yemen. All right, socialist headlines, comrades. Grandma News had an interesting one that I thought you would want to see. So I linked this. We got Raoul's milestones in the 21st century. It's 50 degrees Fahrenheit here. Oh my god. I'm sorry to hear that. Dear God. Raoul's milestones. Number 1. Declaration of Latin America and the Caribbean is a zone of peace. Yeah, that's too cold for me. For right now. I finally can wear a t-shirt on stream nice and comfortably with the windows open. 2. Return of the Cuban Five. 3. Visit of the first sitting U.S. president in nearly a century. 4. Peace negotiations in Colombia. In September 2012, Juan Manuel Santos, Colombian president, and the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia People's Army announced the signing in Havana of the General Agreement to end half a century of armed conflict. Pope Francis in Cuba. Speech at the Summit of the Americas, repositioning Cuba as the cultural epicenter of the hemisphere. During his early years in power, Cuba underwent a process of international recognition as one of the epicenters of hemispheric culture. Among the most notable achievements was Havana's designation as a wonder city of the modern world, an award bestowed by the Swiss Foundation, New Seven Wonders in 2016. And 8. Haiti and West Africa. Latin America and the Caribbean have a historical and ethical responsibility towards that sister republic, Raul Castro stated during his speech at the first CELAC summit referring to Haiti. On that occasion, he recalled that Cuban healthcare professionals had arrived in the neighboring country to support its population after the 2010 earthquake. And their presence has been strengthened months later in response to the cholera epidemic that erupted amidst the disaster. See the full article at Grandma. Also, every organized system is authoritarian. The question asked is this authoritarian on whose beliefs? I mean, I guess it's just mostly I've been hearing that Russia is bad because I can't really think of a reason why Russia is authoritarian and stuff, but I just know enough about I just don't know enough about Russia in general. I mean, this is the thing, right? The thing you have to understand is that whenever a Western country, like this is the Pendleton principle, and it bolsters pretty well, right? The Pendleton principle is that if the US is slandering someplace as being this horrible dictatorship, I'm not 9 times out of 10, you can be safe to assume that it has far more economic and political democracy than what exists in the West, and that's why they hate it. And that includes Russia as well. And like in the West, you see the way we get cooked on great man theory, right? And because people get cooked on great man theory, they see Putin as being in the prominent leadership position of Russia for so long, and they immediately go, "Oh, this is clearly it's a dictatorship, right?" But they're not. What they're not asking is like, what are the policies? Like, what are the like actual economic and political policies? How do the people interact with like the economic bodies that exist in Russia versus what exists in the US, etc. Right? What are the various social wages that exist for people? What exists in like democracy is more than just how much time some leader serves or whatever, right? That's kind of the liberal view of democracy. And they did the same with Xi Jinping, right? In a way too. When Xi Jinping when they moved to get rid of I often see people say Russia is the more visibly corrupt US. Where what like I don't I don't get that, right? I mean, I'm not saying that Russia doesn't have corruption, but more corrupt than the US? Like hello? Like the Epstein in an era of post Epstein file release. That's just ridiculous. That's literally the most ridiculous thing ever, you know? That's right. We're fighting for everyone to have a warm bed. I'm with you in that fight, Melmay. People are stuck in the 90s. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Absolutely. I feel like if Russia was more corrupt than the US, they'd have nuked Ukraine by now, like we did in Japan, so that's an odd thing to say. I mean, the thing is, like, visibly corrupt, like the, uh, well, like again the cover of the Times that like immediately dispels that is like this cover that I showed you the other day. Chimera, welcome in. This immediately dispels Russia being more visibly corrupt. When you literally have Yankee American fucking media bragging about how they fucking interfered with your elections and made sure fucking Yeltsin became the president of your country. Right? I'm pretty sure it's obvious who the more corrupt, visibly corrupt country is. Let's see, the US like gets caught fucking backing like Contras, like all over, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, come on. That's so visibly corrupt. I don't think so. The West is clearly the king of that, hands down. Whenever people use length of political term as a reason to say it's authoritarian, I ask them if in America people would stop wanting Jesus to be president after 2 terms, right? I mean, it's so weird. And again, it also is giving this great man theory because it's like, is Xi Jinping setting all the policies or is he doing his job as chairman and president while the party sets the policies and the cadres of the parties work to put them in place? And he was a cadre of the party himself for many years, which is why he's familiar with everything they're doing. He was doing the same thing as them. You know what I mean? And the bourgeoisie as well. Like their representatives aren't just doing like their own fucking wild thing like out of nowhere. President Trump and the other ones before them, they're putting forward a very particular strategy that is the strategy of the Republican Party. And the other problem with that too is then, and this is why you can't get insurgent candidates into the, you knew I was going to bring it here in India. This is why you can't get insurgent candidates into the Democratic Party and then change it into a progressive working class party. It can't be done. That's why us Marxist Leninists We organize in the Marxist Leninist organization. And I've and I have heard some people say, well, like I've seen some people say, well, like, Zoran, for example, has made that organizing easier. So shouldn't the tankies, shouldn't the Marxist Leninists have been advocating for Zoran to win? Why? Why do we have to do the PR of the Democratic Socialists for them? Why, like, it's not on us for having our own political strategy and wanting to get our own candidates in whatever local elections or whatever else in order to increase our visibility, right? Like, it's not on us to do that. And if you treat me like an enemy because we have that differing of politics, that's on you, not me, you know? That's like what I was saying the other day. That's what I was saying the other day because I do see some people who like in the way that they will critique that they'll make it sound like, oh well, so what are, like, they're the ones who are really saying what all of us Marxist Leninists should do is stop organizing with our party. We should stop organizing independent candidates, and we should just support their Democrat program. All while crying that we won't do leftist unity because we're critical of things, principles, and different aspects of their politics that we don't agree with. And we're just over here saying, and what I'm trying to reinforce, and I think what we're all trying to reinforce is that, that's not the case. Work with us if you want to work with us, but understand we are going to have ideological conversations that make people uncomfortable. Maybe you'll hear something, that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's okay. That's what politics is. It's a difficult thing. Yeah, but at the same time, they go on purist triades about Stalin bad, or Putin bad, or whatever. Well, actually, it's a very interesting thing because, like, they expect you to align with that, but then if you have a nuanced opinion about how, Russia isn't the aggressor, like in this particular conflict, for example, then suddenly you're a fucking right winger, you're a MAGA, you're whatever, right? You know what I mean? Literally. It's like that guy, like Chairman Africa. Like, because he had a difference of politics with Hassan and said, get the fuck out of here, a bunch of people online were calling him MAGA. Or like Kickstreamer or whatever else. Or I forget what else they were calling. Black nationalist, right? Like, come on. That's not us who's having a problem organizing a broad coalition, right? That's democratic socialists who refuse to like accept that we have a different political strategy. We're willing to work in broad coalitions for particular gains, but so why are you gonna, why shit on someone for organizing, uh even though it's not as visible as like whatever fucking organize organizing for the Democratic Party is or whatever, right? And that's what it all comes down to, essentially this like narrative that, well, because Marxism Leninism isn't that popular, we have to we have to like tail the liberals, right? They mistake talking to somebody at their level, meeting somebody where they're at. They mistake that with tailism. And then instead of actually trying to build an independent movement, they instead are just actually running PR for the Democratic Party, trying to rescue the image of the Democratic Party. Because at the end of the day, you can never make the Democratic Party more progressive, right? It can never happen. It never was. Hot take, but it isn't the task of communists to do pro bono campaign work for the bourgeois party. Exactly. And that's all I'm saying, Chimera. And it seems like that, like, after many years of being on here, it seems like that actually is the problem that a lot of the democratic socialists have with us. Is that when we simply critique Zoran, or if we critique some other candidate, they act like us, the Marxist-Leninist hordes, are somehow ruining his election or something, right? Or we're splitting the left or something. No, we're not. We're strengthening the left. We're actually strengthening the left. Okay, Malmay. Rest well. And I mean, it's, and yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Critique, whatever, it's a discussion. You can't have a, like if you can't have a discussion about those ideological principles with me, then we obviously can't even organize in a party. Because I don't know where you stand, right? A broad coalition will be hard enough, let alone any kind of like actual party. Critique Jill Stein, you must not want anything good. Yeah. My last straw with Demsock Democrat apologia was the encounter AOC had with the pro-Palestine activists who saw her in public. Just the stank eye and aggression at being called out for not doing anything about genocide. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, here's the thing, right? Mark, it's a funny thing because we will be acknowledged as being a small segment of the political spectrum in the US, in the West, etc. And then at the same time, they'll act as if we have like this political influence to fucking stop their favorite Democrats from being elected because we're pointing out that they're on the same team. Like, if you don't like hearing that, you'll have to just like shut up like we do sometimes when we're tired of hearing you bash Russia, you know? I don't know. Yeah. Just some thoughts I had. We can and should point out when Democratic Socialist does a good thing, but then we have to point out why even that isn't going far enough and that socialism cannot be reached that way. Exactly. And that's all we're doing. That's all we're ever doing. And then I always see that as, like I say, being betrayed as us, like, attacking their favorite Democratic candidate or whatever. She wants to sit behind me. That's what she does. Alright, back to the news. Sorry about that sidetrack. It's just, it's weighing on my mind lately, this thing, because, like, just listening to other content creators around different platforms and just like hearing like some of what I've heard said about like Marxist Leninists and stuff. It's like, it's just interesting because it's like we get accused of purity testing because we'll point out all of these reality things and say we're not like meeting the masses where they're at. But then the conclusion is, so you just want us all to shut up, is what it is. You don't want us to say anything. Just let them do the PR for the Democrats, right? Like, no, motherfucker, we're gonna be here saying stuff. If you accept that we're on the left with you, or you accept that if you think you're on the left, then the least you could do is, you know, accept that we're here with you. You know? Larry, do we have info about the current state of Lao, like material conditions of the people and stuff? So hard to find information. I mean, KPL exploring their Lao news agency is a good place, and their government website, but I can try and dig up some more for you. Probably the PRF Discord is a good place to learn to get some info. If the Dems hate the left so much, they should nut up and go mask off recruiting those mystical centrists. Yeah. Larry, what do you think of a general strike? Why do we need a revolution before we can achieve that? And did Lenin write something like on strikes and how to use working class momentum to get organized? Okay, so I don't think you need a revolution before a general strike. But what I do think you need before you can have a general strike is you need some mass organization and mass coordination. Like right now, because we don't have HOV even more than the mutual aid networks, the actual institutions. We don't have an organization that is strong enough to build the organizations. I mean, general strike is illegal. Well, I mean, you're getting into a gray area because, yeah, in a sense, a general strike is, but at the same time, you have the freedom of assembly. So that's and when you're coming into that, when you're coming up to a point where the masses are looking at doing a general strike, they've already faced like such fucking tremendous violence that, you know, like you look at USSR, they started organizing a general strike after like mass killings of the masses multiple times. Like them going and asking for peaceful change, and then a failed revolution that happened, and then they started organizing a big general strike. Like, here's the thing, right? They call, like, what's his name? One of the mayors of the Democrat cities called for a general strike, right? But it was just like, it's just like a day protest named a general strike. When a general strikes, well, their strikes were like smashing whole factories, right? Well, I mean, not necessarily. The main thing about their strike is just not working. It was just a halting. The main thing of it is not working, but for an extended period on a vast scale, right? That's the main thing that really. There was also a world war going on. I mean, you know, world war is potentially on the cards here too. But this is like, yeah. And the masses were already like that sentiment among the people of wanting that general strike were actually was very strong there, right? And yeah, but this is why I say you need the institutions, because in order for a large amount of people who are in insecure sectors of work, in order for them to just stop working for a long time, they live from paycheck to paycheck. So that's not possible, right? Even a day off to go to a No Kings protest is like not even on the fucking cards. So the idea of a general strike when you're already living paycheck to paycheck is the thing that really fucking puts a pin in it, right? Silver Spook, welcome in. So like that's why we're not even like in the stage to even talk about a general strike. Which is why when the No Kings rally, when they like made that announcement of a general strike, a bunch of Marxist-Leninists were like, well, that's not a general strike, it's a protest. It would be beneficial for Marxist-Leninist orgs to go there and try and recruit people into our organizations. But you can't just call a one-day general strike. That's not a general strike, right? That's all we were saying. A general strike is when a large amount of people over many workplaces, over multiple chains, multiple workplaces, stop working in a coordinated long-term effort that is supported by like their community organizations, institutions for healthcare, food, etc. right? Because the state's not going to be there. The state's going to be fighting. The state would be fighting against that, as you know. The state would come in on the side of the big bourgeoisie. So we're still so far off of that. We're in the this is what Chairman Africa was trying to say to Hassan in a sense. I mean, was trying not to say to Hassan, I guess, because we're not worried about changing Hassan, but say to the people who were watching him and watching Hassan, right? Is that understand that we are in a struggle to build institutions. That's why he said that the number one, the 99% of organizing right now is meetings. Just sitting with your comrades, meeting strategically to figure out how you're going to pool resources and how you're going to build institutions that can meet people's needs. Like breakfast programs, like transportation to school programs, like, you know, whatever is needed in your area, essentially. But we got to come together. 99%. That's why 99% of activism is getting together, going in the meetings, on the Zoom calls, whatever it is, and meeting with people, pooling resources together, building those institutions, healthcare system, etc., etc. Right? My beard is wild today. Well, thank you. That's the stage that we're in. And that's why we need to bring as many people into our organization as possible. And in order to bring more people into our organization, we have to be able to delineate where the Marxist Leninists are versus where the Democratic Socialists are, etc. That's not a slight against the Democratic Socialists. It's just to say, this is our understanding of general strike. This is why we participate in elections. This is our strategy for participating in elections. This is why we don't support Zoran as a candidate. This is why we're positive about these aspects of Zoran, but we think that he will not be able to accomplish this, and that, and the other thing, right? So on and so forth. We need security in funds, but also with legal defense. You can joke about permission slips, but if your strike is going to void any union defenses the capitalist state grants you, that's a long, precarious period. No, absolutely. I mean, Sinchao was just making, I think, I don't think it was so much of a joke as like a lighthearted point. But that's all part of what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying, right? Like we need allies, like we need allies who can like in broad coalitions who are like people who know about the existing law and can fight for people, for example, right? I mean, Chairman Africa, that was something that he was talking about as well. Like that is all an aspect of like the institutions that we have to build. And that's why I say, like, that's why it's important to know we are in a position of building these institutions. That's why you simply cannot, like, protest until, like, the powers that be change their mind. And then we also have to understand as well that a general strike in America or Canada is probably not going to be, like, again, I'm not calling for the general strike, but I'm just saying when labor gets to that point of being so oppressed by the bourgeoisie, then it's not going to be unions that lead that struggle. It's going to be grassroots organizations here, because unions have been so utterly fucking gutted. Which is why I think it is such a telling thing and so disgusting at the same time that one of the actual only union leaders connected with the working class gets attacked by Jacobin magazine. Coincidence? Right? Again, and then I see a whole bunch of the our friends on the left just fall in line with Jacobin, because Jacobin prints it. A bunch of our friends on the left see that printed and go, "Oh well, you know, I've always been suspect about Christian Smalls. Man was fucking tortured in Israel. You know what I mean? He went to fucking Cuba. Like, He's like the most active, actual anti-imperialist fucking labor organizer the U.S. probably has, and he's being demonized. And then our friends on the left are like, like falling over themselves to join in the critique of him without any actual critique of him when you look at their critiques. But then at the same time, you know, if you point something out about certain other streamers, oh Lord have mercy, you're a fucking you're a right wing, you're MAGA, you know what I mean? You're black nationalist, like they called the chairman Africa. Like, come on. Yeah, it's one thing to have critiques of him, but none of those legitimate critiques were in that hit piece. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Batu Cyborg. Exactly. And I mean just the timing of it with everything that's going on right now, him being very visible in that going to Cuba and calling out AOC and other people, very suspect. And I think it does speak to democratic socialists in a sense as a whole. Again, we'll work with them in broad coalitions, but you can't expect that you can you can shit on like our history that we defend, and you know that you're going to be critical of that, and we're not going to say anything about fucking what we're critical of your strategy, right? Okay, you think Stalin's a monster. Well, I think getting AOC elected isn't gonna bring us revolution or socialism or any closer to socialism, for that matter. Basilimum 2 Larry Taz. Holy shit, I feel honored. Actually, I want to give you one of these. I want to give Basilimum one of. I gave all of the tank tubers the VIP badge. New use for the VIP badge. Tank tubers get them. Larry, off topic. Have you read Social Struggles in Modern Socialism by Beer Max? No, I've not. The History of Socialism. I mean, that's a pretty broad one. I don't know who Beer Max is. Or do you mean oh, do you mean what's he is a Marxist. Do you mean what's his name? Do you mean Bestie Marx? Yeah, if you're talking about Bestie Marx, he has some good videos. He has some good videos on socialist countries, I think. I haven't seen all of them. Yeah, and I understand that talking from an ML perspective to bourgeoisie, one is like moon men landing and shit, but come on, right? Beer Max, 1843 to 1943. Never heard of him. His name is Beer Max. Okay. Let's see. Never heard of this guy before. Beer Max from Austria. Early writer on the topic of imperialism. He was in Die New Zeit. Beer was invited to Moscow to work at the Marx Engels Institute by the facility's director, David Rezyev. Beer would remain in the Soviet Union through 1928. Upon his return to Germany, Beer became active in the German Communist Party. When the Nazis took power in Germany, Beer fled to London, where he would remain the rest of his life. There you go. Max Beer. Never read him before. You're gonna be reading Max Beer. Cool. There you go. Tune into Ronaldo's stream. She'll be beer maxing. She's gonna be beer maxing, so make sure you follow Ronaldo, comrades. All right. I got a few more news pieces from socialist articles for you. President Xi Jinping holds talks with President Thong Loon. I would beer max right now if I could. I might have some vodka. And the wife is away dog sitting tonight. Maybe I'll dig out the vodka. We'll see. We'll see. There might have to be some subs first. Maybe if we get some more subs, I'll break out the vodka in celebration of getting more subs or something. Not that it's actually connected, but I'm just stating that I would probably get excited and it would cause me to be more earnest about having a sip. That's all. President Xi holds talks with President Thong Loon. Larry gone wild. Chinese President Xi Jinping on June 5th held an official welcoming ceremony and talks with Lao President Thong Loon Sisaluf at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing during the Lao leader's state visit to China. The welcoming ceremony took place at the square outside the east gate of the Great Hall of the People, where Xi, who is also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, formally welcomed Thong Loon, General Secretary of the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, and President of the Lao PDR. Following the ceremony, the two leaders met in the Great Hall of the People to discuss bilateral relations and cooperation. The meeting reflected the close and long-standing friendship between Laos and China and underscored both countries' commitment to further strengthening their comprehensive strategic partnership. Trump livid. Trump getting upset.
He's orange.
Meanwhile, in Vietnam, we had the 9th Congress of the Vietnam Farmers Union. The 9th National Congress of the Farmers Union, VNFU, for the 2026-2031 term is being held at the National Convention Center in Hanoi. On June 7th to 8th, the Congress has brought together 600 official delegates representing more than 10 million members and farmers nationwide. Delegates laid wreaths and paid tribute to President Ho Chi Minh at his mausoleum, and commemorated war heroes and martyrs at the monument of Bac Zon Street in Hanoi on the morning of June 7th. Salute to eternal leader of the Vietnamese people, Ho Chi Minh. China's 2026 Gaokao enters second day, CGTN reports. China's annual National College Entrance Examination, known as Gaokao, entered its second day on Monday, with candidates poised to take their English exam. For some, it's the last day of Gaokao, but in the 29 provincial regions that have adopted the new exam system, students will continue to take subject exams until Tuesday or Wednesday. The relevant transportation departments have urged candidates to leave early and use public transport to avoid heavy traffic. The public is encouraged to travel outside peak hours to help ease congestion, and drivers are asked to give way to vehicles transporting students to exam sites. Traffic police, medical personnel, and volunteers will continue to support the students and provide all-round assistance. Don't worry, you can always read the full reports here, but I do condense my news down a lot when I do these reports. But I try to include, of course, the most important parts. I knew you'd want to know that. What is Yiwu's formula for success? And I'm going to show, this is located in China's Jiangxi province. Yiwu is neither on the border nor on the coast. Once hindered by poor transportation links and scarce resources, the county-level city has written a remarkable chapter in China's county-level economic development over the past 4 decades, since the opening of its first-generation small commodities market in 1982. But Larry, that's a market! Forging what has become known as the Yiwu's development experience, marked by the spirit of innovation and the ability to create something from nothing. The city has grown into a world-renowned capital of small commodities. Commodities! Today, Yiwu is home to more than 1.26 million business entities. Oh my god, left comms are just reeling right now. And maintains trade links to more than 230 countries and regions. What? Fuck! In 2025, its export value ranked first among all county-level regions in China. Yiwu built a world supermarket from scratch, a transformation powered by decades of market-oriented reforms and a dense ecosystem of small commodity producers. Small commodity producers that connect Chinese factories with buyers across the globe. Over the past 4 decades, the market relocated 6 times, expanded 13 times, and underwent 5 rounds of upgrading. Its form kept evolving, now extending to a global digital trade hub. But the guiding principle remained unchanged. To develop the market is to drive development. As you can tell, I really wanted to upset the left comms today.
Yiwu has stunned the world as the global
Good luck, here we go.
for small commodities. How did this quiet county achieve such incredible and out-of-the-ordinary growth? And what is Yiwu's hidden formula for success? For over 40 years, Yiwu has focused on building and thriving its markets, respecting market rules and the pioneering spirit of its people, while unleashing private sector vitality. In the early 1980s, Yiwu had no formal trading venues. Farmers set up stalls along the streets, spontaneously forming basket markets and roadside markets. Thousands of people gradually paved the way, selling small commodities across the country one small order at a time. Yiwu's daily necessities trade began.
Look at these bourgeoisie.
In 1982, Yiwu made a bold move by launching its first small commodities market. And in 1984, it launched the strategy of prospering the county through commerce. In 2006, targeted institutional reforms empowered Yiwu with over 400 prefectural-level administrative rights. Since 2011, both international trade reforms have completely reshaped its development trajectory. Yiwu made countless pioneering breakthroughs. The first county-level airport, a postal import with customs support. The first county with overseas visa approval rights, and the first county-level city with.
Why aren't they just pressing the socialism button, Chad? I don't understand any of what's happening.
Total trade reached 836.
I just don't understand investments. I told you that.
Year-on-year increase of 25.1%. Its commodities now reach 233 countries and regions worldwide, with 156 markets achieving annual trade volume exceeding 100 million yuan. Over the past 4 decades, the market relocated 6 times, expanded 13 times.
To say that socialism doesn't work is to overlook the fact that it did work, and it worked for hundreds of millions of people.
Changed. To
No,
develop
absolutely. We have to be in the billions by now, I think, don't we?
Trade. EU's most charming trait lies in its inherent openness and inclusiveness. Today,
The revolution that feeds the children gets my support.
We're still searching Albanian bunkers for the button.
And workers thriving here. Walking through EU streets, you can easily travel the world with your taste buds. Arabic barbecue, Korean fried chicken, Egyptian juice, all within walking distance. To better connect with global clients, local merchants attend free morning language
Yes, you can find
classes
this on my news page here.
Arabic and Spanish before opening
It's
their
on the CGTN article about this new commodity market near the back of the paper.
sincere and proactive global mindset. More than just passively receiving orders, EU now actively captures global trends. Ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, local workshops have independently designed fan jerseys and cheering accessories to seize global sports consumption opportunities.
It's still very much a trout bot.
Continuous exploration and adaptation. EU's experience reveals a simple yet powerful truth. Small commodities can build big markets. An open-minded persistence can transform global prosperity.
There we go. More China W's. Commodities that serve socialism. I don't know. Sounds bad. Enver Hoxha ruled Albania with a super strict grip. A super strict grip. Ruled Albania with absolute control. He banned political opposition, closed churches, and isolated the country. He established a secret police. He built concrete bunkers. I mean, the bunkers is true. Alright. I'm sure this is what y'all been waiting for. Look. China's President Xi visits DPRK. China's president arrived in Pyongyang, the capital, on Monday, and met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Portraits of Xi and flags of both nations are lined along the streets across Pyongyang. Xi's two-day state visit to Pyongyang is his first trip to North Korean capital in nearly 7 years, as Beijing looks to reinforce the ties between the traditional allies. It comes in the back of him hosting separate summits with the leaders of Russia and the United States. Talks between Xi and Kim are expected to cover economic ties and international issues, as well as ways to coordinate among Pyongyang, Beijing, and Moscow. Before Xi's visit, North Korea on Sunday firmly rejected U.S. claims that Washington and Beijing share a common goal of denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. Kim's sister, Kim Yo-jong, said the nation would steadily expand its nuclear arsenal in the face of U.S.-led threats. And we'll get to Kim's statement in a second. We'll get to Kim Yo-jong's statement in just a minute. But first, I want you to see a couple pieces here with me based on this visit. So let's have a look at this visit in more depth, shall we? So here's the arrival here of Xi Jinping in Pyongyang. Here he is arriving. Let's see what kind of greeting we get. Let's rate the greeting, chat. Here we go. Oh. Okay, next we're gonna get more footage here. Don't worry. Oh. Okay, whoa. We got a lot of shit coming up now all of a sudden. I'm gonna add these two as well, just very quick. That's from CCTV. This is 5 hours ago. This is 4 hours ago. Okay, cool. Here we go. We got more. We got more to see now. Okay, this is Xi arriving again. Okay, here we go. More of the arrival. More footage of the arrival, it looks like. We got the honor guard coming out.
当地时间12时许，习近平乘坐的
Arrived
专
in
机
Pyongyang
抵
for
达
a
机
two-day
场。
state visit.
朝鲜劳动
Kim
党总
Jong-un,
书记、
General
国务委员
Secretary of the
长
Workers' Party of Korea, welcomed him with his wife Ri Sol-ju. Welcomed Xi and
夫
Ping.
人彭丽媛
After Xi walked down the air stairs, Kim shook hands with him warmly. Warmly! We got a warm handshake.
金正恩与习近平热情握手。
Let's see. Yup. Oh, yeah, look, we got the double-hander. Here, I'll zoom in on that. Look at that. We got the double-handed,
热情握手。
the cupped fist with the double-handed handshake. Let's go.
握手。
Ty's entering a new era. Look at that.
朝鲜
That's the double-handed hand hug right there. Both people double hands in, hugging. That's a hand hug.
金正恩与习近平
That's the shake that Trump thought he was gonna get.
朝鲜少年儿童向习近平和夫人彭丽媛献花。蔡奇、王毅等陪同人
Flowers.
同基地
Oh, look who's with him.
中国驻朝鲜大使王亚军也到。
Wang Yi is with him as well. Dang. Okay, Yang Yi is also there for the visit. And here they are now driving down the streets. Damn. All right. What else do we get? What else do we got here? This one. Oh, here's the... Okay, I think this is going to be even long. Is this the one we just saw? Yeah, this is the one we just saw. Okay. I've got more here.
当地时间6月8号下午
Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the Communist Party. Hey, Kea, welcome, welcome.
习近平在平壤锦绣山迎宾馆同朝鲜
Okay, sorry. America is shaking its vashy boots. Yep, true.
中共中央总书记、国家主席
Said on June 8th that China and Democratic People's Republic of Korea
锦绣山迎宾馆同朝鲜劳动党总
should consolidate the foundation of political mutual trust and enhance practical cooperation. I love how their table in Korea has the flowers in the middle. What? This is one of the best. No, we shouldn't do that because that's like already assuming bad faith, NTC. Absolutely not. The bad flowers the flowers in the center of the table. I love this.
平指出，时隔7年再次到访美丽的平壤，我感到十分高兴，也格外亲切。我愿同总书记同志一道，以这次访问为契机，加强对新时期中朝关系的顶层设计和战略指引，推动中朝关系与时俱进，得到更大发展，更好造福两国和两国人民，为地区乃至世界和平稳定和发
I
展。
mean, you do have Patriot 1776 in your name.
中朝两国同为共产党领导的社会主义国家，中朝传统友谊植根于双方共同的理想信念和奋斗目标，有深厚历史积淀、坚实政治基础、牢固情感纽带。世代友好、命运与共、守望相助，始终是中朝关系的鲜明特征。无论国际形势如何变化，中国党和政府高度重视中朝传统友好。
So it looks like they are looking to strengthen already incredibly strong ties.
领导朝鲜社会主义事业的坚定支持。
More defiance of the sanctions coming, I would say, probably. Or I guess more ignoring of the
坚
sanctions.
定决心不会改变。习近平指出，面对加速演进的世界百年变局，双方要登高望远，继往开来，从两党两国关系发展历程中汲取智慧，在人类历史发展大势中把握机遇，为中朝传统友谊注入新的时代内涵和强劲动力， 开辟两国社会主义事业
Their
和地
sanctions?
区和平与发展更加美好的前景。
Well, not in the economic network that they're forming, no.
4点意见：第一，坚持以高层交往为引领，夯实政治互信根基。最高领导人战略引领是中朝关系的最大优势。我愿同总书记同志保持密切战略沟通，引领中朝关系不断迈向新高度。今年是中朝友好合作互助条约签订65周年，双方要隆重举办纪念活动。两党关系对中朝关系发展发挥重要引领作用，要进一步拓展和活跃两党各层级各领域友好交往，深化治党治国经验交流互鉴。双方要加强外交、执法、军队。
If they mention tea, coffee, or tofu or soup, I got you. All right, Tempora, you let me know if they mention any of that. I love DPRK's meeting table.
为民造福为目标，提升务实合作水平。中方愿同朝方加强发展战略对接，扩大经贸、农业、建筑、科技。
Let me know if there's some economic tea deal that goes down here.
两国人民，双方要以边境口岸全面复通、民航航班和国际客运列车恢复运营为契机，扩大人员往来，实现双向奔赴。第三，坚持以友谊传承为动力，拉紧
It's just reflective of how much DPRK loves flowers.
用鲜血凝成的传统。
Like I tell you guys all the time, like if you were to go to DPRK,
中方愿同朝方一道。
they have as many food stalls.
在朝
They have as many food stalls as they do flower stalls.
革命传统教育、青少
Like
年思想教育，传承好。
like every other corner where you see like, you know, your food stalls where you can go and buy some street food, there's also flower stalls too. People just like buy flowers for people all the time. It's like a very incredibly like even more common than anywhere else almost.
让中朝传统友谊更加深入人心。
They love flowers.
第四，坚持以公平正义为理念，丰富战略协作内涵。面对人类向何处去，
The national flower of the DPRK is the Mongolia.
命运共同体理念和4大全球倡议，希望推动全球治理朝着更加公正合理的方向发展。
There is also the Kim Jong-ilia and the Kim Il-sungia as well.
广泛支持和积极响应。亚洲是中朝等地区国家的安身
So
立
it's
命之所。
specifically Magnolia Sideboldi.
配合，坚定捍卫各自。
But then an Indonesian botanist, he created a flower for Kim Il-sung, I guess.
金正
I
恩
think it was an
习近平总书记
I always get them mixed up.
再次访问朝鲜。
Both there was a botanist that created a flower for Kim Il-sung. I can't remember who it was now. And then another botanist created one for Kim Jong-il.
今年首次出访就来到平壤，体现了对朝中关系的高度重视和友好情谊，对朝方是莫大的鼓舞。
Being dyslexic, I cannot keep the Kims apart.
久经考验的。
Well, I mean, what you have to remember is Kim is the last name in Korean. Just like in Chinese. The first the last name, the surname comes first.
更在于双方具有
So his name is Jong-un.
和共同的理想信念，并对此
Kim is his family name.
和代代传承。
Just how like you have a surname.
去年9月，我同习近平总书记在北京。
That's why
两国关系
yeah,
在各领域
Jong-un.
活跃发展。
That's why when Yeonmi moved to America, she changed her name to Yeonmi.
总书记同志就新时代朝中
In Korea, it would be like
重要意见。
Yeonmi
各部门
Park.
将同中方同志一道。
Or I guess in Korea, it would be Park Yeonmi, really, like this.
经贸、基础设施、科技、教育、人文等广泛领域的交流合作取得新发展。通过党纪渠道加强经验交流互鉴，为朝方社会主义建设事业发展提供宝贵助力。 帮助朝鲜人民同中国人民一道迈向现代化之路。金正恩表示，朝方高兴地看到，在
Sorry, I can't look away, chat.
中国取得
they're gonna show the whole damn meeting. I'm watching the whole damn thing.
习近平总
Pronouns, fucking pronouns. DPRK doesn't use gendered, like, it's ungendered when they use pronouns, I guess. There's, like, no gendered ones. Except for, like, calling someone sister or brother. Or uncle. Well, yeah, uncle or aunt, sister or brother.
坚定支持中国维护核心利益的政策和立场，巩固和发展新时代朝中友谊是人民的选择，时代的需要，是朝方始终不变的战略选择和坚定不移的战略意志。我们会一如既往将发展朝中关系作为国家最重大的第一战略事业。为把朝中关系建设成国家关系的典范而竭尽全力，共同为地区和世界的和平繁荣做出贡献。蔡奇、王毅等参加会谈。
Thank you, CCTV, for giving us that extended look at the meeting. Okay, and this says, she says, China DPRK ties stand at a new historical starting point. Wait, is that why the Demon of Yodok book said that they couldn't tell the genders of people? The language has no gender? How tell? Yeah, well, just like the pronoun, like, thing is ungendered, right? So maybe it's somebody that, like, misunderstands what that means, you know? Everyone has pronouns, dipshit. It came free with your fucking speaking a language. Yeah, exactly. I love that one. I'm looking to expand my merch site with more DPRK themed stuff. What do you recommend? Oh, you gotta put, well, my recommendation is, like, if you're, use some of those like, their international posters are fantastic. Like, you know, the DPRK guy kicking the American off the Asian continent. That one's pretty good. Any quotes, like if you look into some Kim Jong-un quotes or Kim Jong-il quotes, they have some pretty amazing quotes that if you just, even if you were to, like, put them on a shirt, they would look great. Yeah, be careful with Stripe. Look, hey Bri, welcome in. Look at the greeting they got. Look at the people lined on the street to say hi to Xi Jinping, look. DPRK is the undisputed kings of greeting people. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying around that. Like, auntie and sister and stuff obviously is gendered there.
木兰馆宴会厅张灯结彩，鲜花吐蕊，洋溢着喜庆热烈。
But there's no, like, he, her,
晚
like,
7时许，习近平和
it's
彭丽
like
媛
you.
抵达木兰馆。金正恩和夫人李学主
So if you're referring to somebody like that, that's why you use sister or brother a lot.
致敬。两党两国最高领导人夫妇亲切合影。随后，习近平和彭丽媛在金正恩和李学主
Here's the banquet hall.
宴会大厅。
Like Dave said, the banquet hall is where you can tell a lot of things, see? They remember the US, they like sold them, they like served them like, what'd they say? Like a bunch of like salted meats or something like that? I forget what they said exactly.
金正恩分别发表致辞。
And then Trump, he begged so hard he took a drink of alcohol, which is like against his own like moral code. He broke his own moral code to beg so hard.
相传历久弥坚。今年是中朝友好合作互助条约签订65周年， 中朝关系站
And what did he get out of it? 20 fucking airplanes or
这
something.
次访问同金正恩总书记达成重要共识，我们一致认为，要从社会主义前途命运的战略高度把握时代大势，顺应两国人民。
What's it gonna be?
Yeah, Stripe can be a pain in the fuck. Go Virgo, thank you, thank you.
推动中朝关系高水平发展，携手开辟两国社会主义事业更加美好的前景，促进人类社会不断进
I'm
步。
choosing drugs right now, Jet.
习近平表示，今年朝鲜劳动党9大胜利召开，对朝鲜党
Not gonna lie to y'all.
长远发展作出战略规划和重大部署，开启朝鲜社会主义全面发展新时期。作为好邻居、好朋友、好同志，中方衷心祝福
Everyone turns around to listen.
为首的
I noticed they didn't do that
坚强领
when
导下
at the Trump
朝鲜人
summit.
民顺利完成朝鲜劳动党9大提出
In
的
fact, Trump was like distracted by someone off to the side the whole time she was talking.
新局面。金正恩代表朝鲜党、政府和人民对习近平到访表示最诚挚的欢迎。金正恩表示，今天的平壤到处洋溢着友好情谊，热烈欢迎朝鲜党、政府和人民最尊贵的客人。习近平总书记今年首次出访及来到朝鲜，彰显对发展朝中两党两国关系的高度重视。
He said Xi
和对
Jinping.
朝鲜社会主义事业的最宝贵支
I
持。
heard that part.
金正恩表示，我与习近平总书记同志时隔9个月再次会晤，就结合新的形势变化，进一步推进具有新的时代内涵的朝中关系达成重要共识，并就共同关心的国际和地区问题广泛交换意见，必将推动具有深厚历史传统的朝中友谊加速向前发展，为地区和世界的和平稳定作出贡献。朝鲜人民对兄弟的中国人民所取得的伟大成就由衷感到高兴，相信在以习近平总书记同志为核心的中国共产党领导下，伟大的中国人民必将在全面建设社会主义。
Well, I mean, the problem with trying to search it up, Leanne, is like you're probably not going to find very good takes regarding most people when it comes to like LGBTQ and queer people in DPRK. And I would say, and one thing I would say is like a lot of times people in the West, they misinterpret DPRK and like countries being very anti-PDA as being anti-LGBTQ or something. And something that I always point out, like the reason why you don't have a pride movement in DPRK like you do in other countries is because it's one of the only countries in the world that has never persecuted anyone on gender or on like sexual orientation. So because of that, there's never been a need to organize a protest against a state that is silencing you like that. In a way that, of course, we know even Cuba unfortunately made a mistake in that regard, right? Of course, we know that Cuba realized their mistake because it's actually a country that realized that mistake and reacts quickly to the people. But in Cuba, there was a need to organize that because there was that mistake that happened. So a pride movement emerged in Cuba as a result of that, right? DPRK, it's like one of the only countries in the world that has never done that. That's never persecuted. Now, that's not to say that social attitudes are perfect or that there isn't like backwards ideas or family law that could be improved and stuff like that, right? I'm not saying any of that stuff, but I'm saying that like it's a struggle that they engage with within the system itself, rather than having to fight against the system to give themselves a voice. Which is why you don't see a pride movement in DPRK. Doesn't mean that there's no LGBTQ people there. It just means that they didn't have to engage in a riot. Because pride emerges as a riot. Yeah, there's no structural oppression of queer people specifically. Exactly. So there was no need for like that specific riot to emerge because they aren't voiceless people. Their voice is inside of the government, a government that actually works for them and provides all people with whatever economic needs they want. There's no discrimination that can leave anybody like not able to be in the party as long as they have the ideologically correct line of the party, etc. And that is something too I remind people of when they, because some people will say, well, how come more women aren't in government positions in DPRK? I don't think that necessarily speaks to like DPRK like leaving women out of political organization, but rather it speaks more to the fact that like women for the first time in Korean history were able to get involved in things like sciences and etc. Abortion should be illegal. Well, you're gonna just get a ban because that's like, what are you talking about? No. You're banned. You're immediately banned. What the hell? Some people. That was not the purple place, Voya. That was not the purple place. Straight to Gulag. Yes. Yes, indeed. My high school growing up, straight couples would walk around holding hands and no one would say anything. One day, two girls walked around holding hands and got in trouble and they threatened suspension. The next day, most girls in school walked around holding hands. Let's go, autistic baddie. This is what I was talking about on my stream on Sunday. If you're afforded all the same rights as the basis of your existence as a worker, and if queer people are workers, which of course is true, then queer people will be afforded rights as workers. Exactly. Exactly, Virgo. Which is why we can't understand the lens of like struggle of queer people in DPRK is the same through the lens of the experience of queer people in the West, who are literally the targets of a specified violence against them. That's not the case in DPRK. So it's not an existential like threat of needing to fucking organize to get your voice heard so that you survive, right? Instead, it's a matter of improving the government as to serve all the various interests in that represent working class interests in the society, and that can be a very long struggle. But the important thing is everybody's basic economic, political, and social needs are met, and then it's a matter of increasing those by allowing the people to do that, right? Because something else you have to remember is that people's understanding of those issues is also influenced by the level of economic development and economic distribution. And the better that is, the more people can focus on improving laws that deal with social relation factors and deal with securing family rights, etc., right? Can you take a look at some of her merch and give your thoughts? I don't want to sound like a shill, but I would appreciate the feedback. The whole project is to support a mutual aid fund. Where's your mutual aid fund for? Okay, I'm gonna read to you a press statement here. We've got a press statement here from Comrade Yo Comrade Kim Yo-jong, Department Director of the Central Committee, Workers' Party of Korea. If you're on one of the places, you've got a Kim Yo-jong emote. There, that one. There you go. Press statement of Kim Yo-jong. Kim Yo-jong, Department Director of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, issued the following statement on June 6th. Still, some officials in the United States have failed to wake from their escapist and anachronistic dreams. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of State on June 5th said in response to a request by one of its media for comment, the China-U.S. summit held in May reconfirmed the shared goal for the denuclearization of the DPRK. This is nothing but an old practice of the U.S. for spreading false information. The U.S. representative of trade had already intimated last month that the China-US summit reconfirmed what was called denuclearization, quote unquote. However, it is just a complete fabrication and false information. And it may be a hope of the US officials very much fond of uttering the archaic word of denuclearization. But it is absolutely untrue. We have the most accurate information about the facts. And we also make it clear that we do not discuss with anyone our core sovereignty and security, and the insolent act of violating the state constitution, which should be observed in the most sacred way. The U.S. assertion to backbite the status of the DPRK as a nuclear weapon state has no legally binding force, and no one will be bound by the U.S. unilateral rhetoric. The forces which have remained most hostile to the DPRK and expressed through undisguised speech and behavior their sinister intention to be the most outrageous in the past, present, and future should stop slandering the just policy of the DPRK for self-determination and, in particular, give up the daydream about denuclearization. It's to support socialists and communists. We started making org copies of Hassan merch at a discount. I've convinced the team to go more broadly with supporting leftists in general. Wait, you make copies of Hassan merch and share it at a discounted price? And the money goes to... I mean, do you mind me asking? Like, is it PSL or FRSO? Or some connected orgs like that? Or is it like... It goes directly to the people. Okay. Well, I'll have a look at your merch in just one sec. Let me finish the news. I got my doob rolled. I'll look at your merch. Then we'll check out and then we'll have a little puff break after I look at that. It doesn't buy ACP rakes and shovels, right? Yeah. It's not an ACP thing, is it? Okay. Let me continue with this. You got me curious, but we are now eyeing the course of a dangerous evolution of the nuclear alliance against the DPRK. all acts of shaking the security of the DPRK and the region down to the roots, including the expansion and development of aggressive military blocs, sharing nukes, the conduct of various military drills premised on the use of nuclear weapons, and the constant deployment of nuclear strategic assets clearly prove the justness and legitimacy of building a solid nuclear shield of the DPRK. As far as today's news is concerned, we also have something to say. The U.S. Department of State has reportedly decided to approve the export of JDAM and associated equipment to the ROK. The enemy is busy with such an act. This is the reason why we are concentrating on bolstering up the self-defense capability for defending the security of the state from the ceaseless arms buildup of the hostile countries, and we will have to do this. In order to protect its sovereignty and security and ensure regional stability and peace, the DPRK will never remain a passive onlooker to the situation in which the equilibrium of forces is destroyed. The line of steadily beefing up the nuclear war deterrent for self-defense, clarified by the head of state, is an irreversible final conclusion to be carried out unconditionally. It sends the world a clear signal that we will never compromise as regards the issue of defense and sovereignty. The DPRK's status as nuclear weapons state is the line of no retreat, and it is a stark reality whether anyone recognizes it or not. Reality never changes by outsiders' hope or rhetoric. The DPRK has sufficient ability and right to defend itself against the security threat constantly posed by rogues, who frequently do the military muscle flexing with warships and warplanes near spaces under its sovereign power, and increase their arsenals near its territory. The nuclear forces of the DPRK, which have been legalized by the Constitution of the state, its supreme law, is a core force for national sovereignty and national defense, and its guarantee that the DPRK's protection of its core interests will not be affected by outsiders. The nuclear capability is the most powerful logic in the dispute of those who worship power. We will never tolerate any threats or compromise related to our sovereignty and security. All right, and I got one last link for you today, comrades. One last article for you. I told you, Mondays are a little bit bigger. This one is from June 6th, over the weekend. From Saturday. The 80th Korean Children's Union birthday. The respected fatherly Marshal Kim Jong-un made a significant congratulatory speech on the 80th founding anniversary of the Korean Children's Union. And this is his speech. Our proud Children's Union members, this is June 6th, your holiday. On this holiday, 80th founding anniversary of your organization, the whole country is sending greetings of congratulation to all of you, Children's Union members, who are precious sons and daughters of our people and masters of the future of this Korea. As I see your neat and vigorous appearance, I really feel assured. Children's Union members. Overcoming the harsh trials as it sees you, and creating more with greater exertion as it wishes that the rising generation will lead a happy life with nothing to envy. This is the course of, and the secret to, this country achieving prosperity. Beloved Children's Union members, You should not forget that the richer knowledge you acquire, the more healthily and stoutly you grow up, and the greater feeling of helping and leading one another forward you cherish in your mind, the stronger your country will become, and the happier the laughter will be in the streets and the villages, workplaces, and houses across the country. You should steadily shoulder the future of this country. My wish is that you will all be filial to your parents, study hard, and be exemplary in the organizational life in good health. I really feel happier today than any other days. It is because I am sure that, as it has you, our country will become more youthful and beautiful. Children's Union members, let us all march forward courageously towards the future as befitting the sons and daughters of Korea. Unquote. The conference marked a significant occasion of clearly showing the proud appearance of the mettle of our Korean Children Union members, who are growing up to be pillars of the future socialist Korea under the guidance of the respected fatherly Marshal Kim Jong-un, and of further encouraging the people across the country to bringing earlier the bright future of national prosperity with towering self-confidence and redoubled enthusiasm. That's today's Juche Gang News, comrades. A Tank 2 production. And of course, to get your copy for today, just type !news into my chat, and there you go.